Good morning, afternoon, evening, whenever you see this. This is Dee with INF Probably Insights. Doing a walk and talk today. I was able to get out just as soon as I posted that I have absolutely nothing more to say this summer. Something comes to my mind. Isn't that the way life happens? This I am showing you. We're not going to be doing much walking. I'm going back in my car. It's really hot. Figured out the problem is the humidity. The humidity inside my apartment was 75%. 75% outside. Also, so it was like I was breathing in water. So it's right now it's cooler outside than it is inside. So that was the issue. So I'm feeling good. Where I am now is Falls Lake. I have shown you the lake before. And this is the other side. This is a boat launch, very popular boat launch on the other side of the lake, Falls Lake, where I live. It's our water source. So if you haven't seen that video of the walk and talk, go look at it. That's the one I did on about my near-death experience, so look for that one. Same lake, different view. We've got canoers out here, kayakers. We've got pontoon boats, fishing boats, speed boats. This place will be full and logger jammed later today. But it is pretty. I want to show that to you. Okay, so I'm going to go walk back to the car and we'll do the processing and talking. I'm going to talk about dementia and INFPs. And INFPs, not that INFPs have dementia or can get dementia, anybody can. But, and you think, well, what in the world? Just hang with me on this. Don't just cut me off. Like, this doesn't apply to me. I'm 20 years old, it doesn't apply to me. I'm 40 years old, doesn't apply to me. Who cares about old people? I'm trying to figure out my own life. Whatever you're thinking, I'm going to show the road so I don't get people's license plates. So now, see, we go from the lake. We're in the woods now. Maybe I'll do this in the woods. Maybe I can. Oh, it's cooler over here. I'll come over in the woods. So what are we talking about dementia? I think that is the perfect person for us to work with and or be around, and maybe our mission in life. And of course, you know, walk and talks are when I process, and I have not got any insights too much. I've got a whole lot of questions. I'll come over to the woods. I'm gonna kill myself on this gravel here. But I'm just gonna be right here in the woods. So how did this come about? And what am I talking about? Dementia. It's very popular. Dementia, Alzheimer's, very popular disease. We don't do much talking about it. Don't do much talking about death and dying. One of my neighbors told me, said, you know, you talk about death frequently. Well, that's part of life. And even Carl Jung, which I know a lot of you know, and a student of, talks about death. Death is part of life. I'm not talking about death as in dementia, how you can live better, how we can help people. And I think we're the perfect people, INFPs are the perfect people to help people navigate the world at that point in their life. Now, what do I mean by that? I'll give you two examples. One example I've already given you is that my mom had dementia, and that's what she passed away of. Actually, all of her siblings had dementia, so that's something in my life that I'm trying not to get and keeping my brain active, but doesn't seem to be a genetic propensity for it that much, so that part's good. But I did mention to you, I'll just tell you two quick stories, and then I'll tell you how it relates to INFPs, I think, and tell me what you think. And if you've had experiences with it, or if you know someone, or just to keep this video on hand when you do, because you will at some point in your life run across someone with dementia more than likely. Or some mental deficit. So with my mom, I mentioned earlier in an earlier video that when she did not know who I was any longer was the first and only good conversation that we had. And that conversation was good because it was interesting to me, because what she wanted me to do and what we were planning was for her escape from the skilled nursing facility. The woman couldn't even sit up or walk, but she was in her final days planning her escape. So that is one thing. And then the second thing happened yesterday. The man I talk about once in a while that lives, one of my neighbors, that I worry about not eating, he came outside yesterday. There were a couple of us out there besides me, and he has deteriorated quickly. He did not know who I was. He knew that the other people there were his neighbors, but he told me that I was the landlord and he was not going to be kicked out of his apartment, and if the police come, he's not going. He just went on and on. So he does not know who I am. So I just went along with the flow. So what do we do in those situations? This is something just for a life lesson in general for anybody listening. You don't have to be an INFP. The best way to deal with someone and to interact with someone and to keep them from being agitated even more than they already are is to go into their reality. Their reality is their reality, and that's true of everybody. We all have our own perspective on reality. We all have our own reality. So the other women were fighting with him verbally, like, she's not the landlord, don't you know who she is? That works against someone with dementia. And I just went with the flow and I said, no, I understand you live here and I'm not going to call the police. I just went with his story. Same way with my mom. The last conversation, I went with her story. There's no way she's going to escape. But you know, it was kind of fun for an INFP because we like stories and we like to make things up. So that comes in handy. That's how so I let her go with the flow and we were planning an escape. Before when she did know who I was, before she got that bad off, she used to talk about her brother and sister-in-law coming to visit her. They had been deceased for several years. Other family members used to try to make her get into reality and make her say, no, you know, they're not here anymore. What's wrong with you? And they stopped going to see her, and they were frustrated. And that's where I think the ESTJ world freaks out. But we're intuitives, we're sensitive. The INFP, we know how to live within our alternate reality. We have alternate realities which change, so we can go there. I think we are perfectly primed to go there with people. And I would just go there with my mom and I would just say, you know, like, well, what do they have to say and how are they doing? The best thing you can do with someone, that's how you can help them feel understood. We know what it's like not to be understood. We know what it's like not to be understood, to be an alien in the world, sometimes not want to be in the world. My mom actually tried to commit suicide when she was in her 90s, and she was midway through dementia. She said she didn't want to kill herself, she didn't want to live this way anymore. Physically, she was perfectly fine, mentally not. So we know what that feels like as an INFP. We can go there with people. So we have alternate realities. We can have imaginations. We can go there with people. We can understand there with people. And so I think we make the best partner. I mean partner as in buddy kind of thing. Just a compadre, companion, whatever, to someone who has dementia. It does relieve their irritability. It does relieve their stress. They feel like they're being heard. My mother's older sister, had dementia, and I went to see her in assisted living before she passed away. And whenever I'd go see her, she would say, "How'd you find me?" "I moved. How'd you find me?" Well, she didn't move. She moved mentally, but she didn't move. And I would just go on with some story like, I called ahead. I got the map out. I mean, I just went along with stories. And that's something that we can do as an INFP. We can be of great help in the world. If you're wondering what you need to do with your life, that may be something you can work with. Maybe a population you can work with. Or at the very least, when you run across it in your life, and chances are you will, either now or sometime in the future, maybe near future, we can be of so much help to somebody else who is going through what we've spent a lifetime experiencing. And it's just think of someone who is in the SJ world. I'll just say SJ world because I think my mom was a ISFJ, but the SJ world that we live in has learned to cope in that, has learned to thrive in that, and all of a sudden at the end of most of the time it's the end of their life, but it can be any time. A traumatic brain injury from an accident or illness can cause that also. The same type of situation. So that's got to be hard. It's hard for us growing up that way, but at some point I think we get kind of used to it, even though we don't like it and don't know how to handle it. But just think of someone like my neighbor and like my mom and like my aunt, what it's like to go 80 some years getting along in the world, in the SJ world, and then you're thrown, what seems to be all of a sudden, you're just thrown into a total different concept. And I do believe that they understand that they're changing, but they don't understand why or what. So that's just something I want to throw out there. I don't have any type of format to this or organization to this. I just wanted to get out. I did. Wanted to throw that by you. Wanted to run that by you. It came to me. I did have some enlightening type situation yesterday with my neighbor. He has help now. He has a nurse come to stay with him during the day. So he has really deteriorated quickly. And so yeah, put your comments if you've experienced it. If you agree, disagree, go read, see what Carl Jung has to say about it. But I will talk about death at some point in time, or dying process, on and off. I am older, that's what we do, because it's more real to us. Also, I will do it because it is part of living. You only start living, like Carl Jung said, you only start living after age 40 anyway. The rest is just research and exploration. So I do love your comments. Enjoy your time. I'm enjoying this day here in the woods more than on the water. So until next time, whenever that is, sporadically during the summer, stay safe.